What is up, everyone? Scott Brent coming to you, like I said, at 8:30, a little past 8:30, whatnot, but coming live. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for jumping on here. And as I discussed, what I have coming up now, another podcast. And as you can see up here in the corner here, calling it High School and Beyond Podcast. And so I had talked to a good friend about that. And if you know what I speak on when it comes to proper college planning and when it comes to funding, there's a lot that goes on here. And so this has really been something that has been sitting around for a while. And then today it really hit me in the face. And for whatever reason, it really hit me heavy. And I think based on what I do with the podcast, different podcasts and whatnot, the information that I have, just sharing this with families. And so one thing to really clear the air with for individuals is when it comes to what I do with college funding solutions, I have no bias for any college. And so I have had that question asked before of me is, do I have a bias towards any college? And no, I do not. So what I do is I work with families and students to help them make the most informed decision when it comes to their student that's going to fit them best. And so with College Funding Solution, it is finding solutions for families and helping them understand what's taking place and how to get the best funding from the schools. And so it's what we're doing is helping students and family get the best education at the best price. And so one thing that a lot of people do not realize when it comes to college is a business. And so college is looking to make sure that they are taking care of themselves. They look at the students as an asset. And I'm sorry to say that. You may be upset about that. And you're like, my kid's not an asset. No, the colleges are looking at your kids as an asset because once they graduate, they're looking to have them return that investment by their education that they gave them to give back through donations. And so the one thing that is huge right now is the elephant in the room, and that's coming up being completing the FAFSA. And anybody that's filled out the FAFSA, completed the FAFSA, knows it sucks. It is not clear. It is not concise. And the bad thing about it, not the bad thing, but the thing when it comes to the FAFSA is that unlocks the vault of the college and the free money. And I got free in quotes because the money that comes from the colleges, if it is the free money, it doesn't have to be paid back as long as your student does what they need to, fulfills their role as a student. And so the free money is the money that's coming from the college itself. And the one thing that we have to be mindful about is the majority of the money to fund college for your student comes from the college itself. And so it's 97% of funding to pay for school comes from the college itself. The other 3%, and this is where individuals are going for a mad dash, is these private sector scholarships, Coca-Cola, Taco Bell, the banks, anything like that. That money right there is only 3% of the funding, but families are doing 80% of the work for that money. And so the one thing we got to be mindful about is with the FAFSA, 3 out of 4 of those applications that the Department of Education receives are inaccurate. And so that means you as a family, your student, I'm sorry to say this, but you may be shooting yourself in the foot because it isn't clear. And because college is a business, the more money that they can save for themselves, that means the more money that they can throw at a student that they truly want. And so one of the things that we provide families is a tool to make sure that the expected family contribution that's shown on the FAFSA is correct. And so it's one of those things that if you hear it and you got individuals from certain colleges that are saying, hey, you can do it for free, you can do it for yourself, guess what? That's like doing your taxes for yourself for free. It doesn't work in your favor. And then you have to be mindful that colleges have a bias. They have a bias towards their campus. And so if they can save them money and throw the money at somebody else, they're going to do it. Sorry to say it. It's a dirty tactic. And so that's the thing. When I talk to families with that aspect is one thing to be mindful about, but college isn't for everybody. We know this. We already know that college isn't for everybody. So interesting story. I had a family that I'd reached out to, and the mom that I was talking to was excited. And I was like, no, I'm excited that you're looking forward to your kid going to school. But I caveated that every kid is not meant to go to school. And she had gotten mad at me. So it's one thing that I speak the truth. I have no bias towards any college. So what we're doing is just trying to help each family get the best education, the best price, make the most informed decision for themselves, and just to make sure that that student is feeling comfortable with their decision. And so one of the top things that individuals have concerns with is the money to pay for school. And we have to be mindful that 1 October is when the window opens up to complete the FAFSA, which is here in a couple of days. And it is a first come, first served basis. And so the sooner you get ahead of the line of all the other peers, the majority of the time you're going to have a better funding package given to you than somebody that waits till a later date. And some people do it. I don't know how to explain it. And so when it comes to the money, schools are looking at the person in a whole person concept. And so they're looking at the education, the social piece, the financial piece for the student. And we had an individual that they had applied to 7 schools. That is the other thing. Leverage for you as a family, for your students, you need to apply to 6 to 7 schools to increase your leverage. Because when you complete the FAFSA, that information goes to all these other schools. And so the schools actually see who they're competing against. And if they really, really want your students, they're going to compete because they don't want the other business, they don't want the other college to get that student, because they want to be able to bring them into their community, allow them to graduate, and then say, hey, thank you. We had this next doctor and whoever it is. So it's one of those things. It's a competition thing. But I actually ran into a young gentleman. He's a senior in high school. And I was talking to him, and he had expressed, and this was last week, he had expressed that he had not applied to any colleges. I was like, okay, you really want to look at applying to 6 to 7 schools. But right now, it's your senior year, you're going to have a lot of stress. And so that's the thing when it comes to the whole planning process. Money's a big issue because we know college is expensive. And so if you can get the best funding package possible and know that you've got a fair funding offer, it's going to be better for you as a family and as a student. But it also goes to the caveat of everybody isn't meant to go to college. And so one of the things that I am very passionate about is helping individuals, when it comes to the students, get them connected with business leaders in the Colorado Springs area, because this allows that student to ask questions, to really do a deep dive and see if it's something that they truly want to do, or no, let's go a different direction. Because if you don't do the education, you can go Google whatever, and it's going to give you the rainbows and sunshines, but you don't get the nitty gritty. And so that's the thing that when I bring this up to parents, a lot of parents are like, wow, I've never even thought about having my student talk to somebody in the industry. And so it's just one of those things, because a sad statistic that I saw, and I've talked to some high school guidance counselors, and they're like, why would families want to work with you? And I believe sometimes the guidance counselors believe I'm trying to take their job. I'm not trying to take their job. I'm trying to be a complementary piece to what they're doing for the students. The sad statistic that I saw was, on average, for a high school guidance counselor, when it comes to students, they see a student 8 minutes throughout the whole year. Think about that. So over 4 years, that's 32 minutes that your student had been seen by the guidance counselor. And some schools are huge, and high school guidance counselors have a lot on their plate. And so you may have it where a family misses out because they just didn't get the focus. And so it's one of those things that what I do is work with families and give them the tools, give them the insights on different things that aren't considered. But also, if there's students that want to go the entrepreneurial route and college isn't for them, that's something that I'm looking to do, is to help out students, to allow them to go and talk to entrepreneurs, help them explore, help them to ask questions, and help them get connected. And this is the thing I tell the parents. I'm like, if you have a network and there's people that are doing things, have your kid talk to your friends, have your child or your student talk to whoever it is. Don't hold them back. But sometimes it's things that aren't really thought of that people don't consider. And so the one other caveat that I'll give this 4,000 foot overview when it comes to the elephant in the room, and this one really shocked me, and it shocks a lot of people when I bring this up. 9 out of 10 families will take the funding offer that's given to them by the schools and run with it. You can appeal the offer. There are different things when it comes to appealing the offer that's being provided that you have to know and understand. The ones that do appeal, so 9 out of 10 families don't appeal. They just take the money, run with it. 1 out of 10 families, when they appeal, the average is about 90% of those families that appeal get more money from the schools. And so think about that. If you can get more free money from the schools that you don't have to worry about paying back, what does that do for you as parents when it comes to planning for retirement? What does that do for your students when it comes to getting done with school, graduating, and the potential debts that they may have taken on to go through school? Imagine getting more money from the schools because you understood the process. What would that do for you as parents and for your students? And so when I bring this stuff up, my families are like, man, I wish I would have known somebody like you when I was going through school. And so it's just one of those things that there's a lot of information. There's a lot that goes into this process that people don't understand. And so for me, it's the education piece. It's helping families make the most informed decision. One other thing that I'm excited about, and I'm very proud to hear this, is I met with a great business owner here in Colorado Springs, Tanya Streidick. We had sat down and she was discussing potentially having her son go back to school. He'd gone to school for a while, ended up having some things take place. And he looked at it and he's like, college isn't for me. And so that was something that I talked about when I had met with Tanya, was college isn't for everybody. And because of that conversation, really looking at it and say, yeah, it's not for everybody. She's thankful for that because now her son is doing big things, doesn't have to worry about the extra debt that he may have had to take on going back to school. And so I'm proud to hear that because it shows what I speak of, what I share with families is true. And so, yeah, it's College Funding Solutions. And it's helping families, if college is the route for their students, to get the best education, the best price, to make sure that your funding offer from the schools are fair and that you aren't being lowballed by the schools. Because sometimes schools will lowball families because that's more money that they're saving to be able to throw or provide to another student. So imagine if you knew you had the fairest offer, it's what the colleges could provide, and you knew exactly what that was. What would that do for you? So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me through email. You can find me on Facebook. The email, I just had to populate that for the podcast, but it is H as in hotel, S as in Sierra, so high school abbreviated, Beyond Pod, so BEYOND pod, POD at gmail.com. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. There's also a free site that you can go check out, which falls under the umbrella of College Funding Solutions, and that is mycollegeinfo.com. There's a lot of great information in there for you, your student, for your family, and you're able to also look in your area because I may have individuals that are listening to episode and all the other episodes in different states. You can go on to mycollegeinfo.com, put in where you're at, and look for a certified college advisor that can work with you and help you out. And I would highly suggest doing that. The reason that a lot of people are freaked out to do that is colleges are like, hey, you can do this on your own. You can do this for free. Well, college is a business, like I said, and they're saying that to protect themselves and save money, to to provide to another student. And so I come, no bias, no punches. I'm here to help out because there's a lot that goes on. You as a family, as students, are overwhelmed. You have so much going on that this is just an extra thing on your plate that you may be missing out on. You may be hurting yourself. So I want to thank everybody for your time. I will catch you guys next week. I've got some different things that I'm looking at taking on with this podcast. Thank you to Danielle McCarthy for some of the ideas that she had provided me. So I do have some different avenues, looking at talking to individuals from different trades. If I have individuals from the medical field, doctors, nurses, just to talk about their experiences. So that way individuals can hear. And this also gives me another opportunity to connect, have a resource for individuals to reach out to and speak to. So like I said, again, thank you for your time. The podcast is High School and Beyond Podcast. I'll start getting this uploaded onto Anchor, and it will be released to different platforms. And as that goes, I'll share that. But thank you guys for your time. I will catch you guys next week. All right, bye. Good times.